Last year, we raved about NBA 2K11, and for good reason. It was the best basketball game we had ever played. This year, 2K Sports brings their A game again, and amazingly, NBA 2K12 is better in every single way. Better in every single way. Better in every single way. Better in every single way.
Alright guys, I'm gonna make this quick. After hearing that, do you guys trust these reviewing companies, these companies that review games without even playing them, fully experiencing the games? I'm gonna tell you right now, if you want the truth about a game, a sports game, especially something like NCAA 13, you want to check out TheSimStandard. These guys have the game, they play the game through and through. They're gonna give you guys exactly what you want to know, what you want to hear in this review. It's your boy Shake. Listen to what TheSimStandard has to say about NCAA 13.
Zero Effect here on behalf of TheSimStandard, and as far as presentation goes, the whole, if you like ESPN, the ESPN presentation that they do on Saturdays with college football, then you'll like what they're bringing to the table with NCAA Football 13. They have dynamic dynasty updates. So what that means is that, if you're in a game, Reese Davis will break into your game with a live studio update saying the score of some major game that might be happening this week. Unfortunately, it's not video like some people would want, but it is a score update, which kind of gives you kind of like a living, breathing dynasty update if you're somebody who's playing online dynasty or just dynasty period.
All right, man, this is SimFBallCritic on behalf of the SimStandard. And basically, man, with the features, a lot of the stuff that we've seen in previous years, but I'll go through them. There's a couple additions. Of course, you do have your custom playbooks. You still have your team builder, editing your coaches, edit rosters, depth chart, create a player, roster share, and things of that nature. Now, another thing here that's new, you have the Heisman Challenge. A lot of us have heard about this already, but just to run through it again. Basically, the Heisman Challenge, you can take any one of these previous Heisman winners, put them on any team that you desire, and, try to mimic their career, win the Heisman. And then, of course, you have your Road to Glory, where you could take yourself or put yourself in the game, starting from high school, work your way all the way through college, and just see if you can produce a stellar career. So like I said, some of the things that we've seen from previous years with some new additions, I think this could, for guys who are interested in NCAA, I think this will give you a lot of, immersive time that you can spend with the game.
Well, this is Smitty here on behalf of SimStandard. In regards to the gameplay, the game, especially from a simhead standpoint, it's going to look the same, but it's going to feel a bit different in certain areas, especially with the passing game, with them adding the 20 plus different pass trajectories, being able to lead receivers, throw over the shoulder, throw behind, various angles or what have you, whereas before you only had the 2 or 3 trajectories in years past. And then the read and react system is a great addition to the passing game. It's like it definitely evolves the passing game to a great extent. And with the addition of the catch animations for both offense and defensive players alike, it definitely rejuvenates that area of the game. The other areas of the game that got slight touch-ups were pretty much the offense and defensive line interactivity. You still have the nagging eyesore issues in the game, which are the general player movement. In terms of the controlled player movement, you still have the zigzag running and players sliding around the field. You don't have proper foot planting at all times in the game as of yet. You're still missing, obviously, the tandem O-line blocking on passing plays. You still have that hummingbird motion in the secondary as well, with defenders floating to make plays or what have you, as well. If you've been away from the NCAA series, this isn't a game that'll actually be the one to say, oh, it's time to come back to it. Like, this wouldn't be the one unless you really got to scratch that collegiate football itch.
SimFBallCritic again. The ball trajectories are looking pretty good in the game. You can definitely throw the ball and put the ball where you want it to be. Read and react. Now, I've spent a lot of time with that, and it looks to be fairly solid. When I say solid, I would say 80% of the time you're getting the result that you want. Outside of that, I'm getting a good challenge from the computer. I don't see too many instances where I feel cheated in the game. There are limitations, but I don't feel cheated. It does feel like a competitive game. I like being able to break out of play action. That's pretty good. When I say simulation, I know a lot of us use that word, loosely. Really what we're looking for as a community, we say simulation, but also we need to see replication. What we're looking for is for a game to replicate what we see on TV. There's a lot of areas that it misses on, such as my pet peeve, player movement. You still can pull off the zigzag running at times, and these guys just don't move in an ordinary fashion. They just don't move like football players. So that is something that you still may harp on as you play this game, as well as the O-line, D-line interactions. It's a tad bit better than previous years, but it still seems to be a little bit scripted. I've noticed also there's other situations where you get pulled into blocks slightly, and that's something that we've all noticed. Another area of concern would be as far as foot planting. My biggest problem is that it seems that across the field, if you're not controlling the player, you will see instances of foot planting. That's another positive. You will see good foot planting and, footwork from the DBs and the receivers. But as soon as you take control of this guy, you can no longer pull off those moves. So that's a little disturbing. In a nutshell, it has improved. The game has improved. I think you can have some fun with this game if you take it for what it is. If you're still looking for that full simulating game that, fully replicates what you see on Saturday, Sunday, what have you, this still is not that game yet, but I can definitely see the steps in the right direction.
All right, Azure Effect here once again on behalf of the Sim Standard. Breaking out a play action that adds about 20 to 30 more opportunities for simulation aspects, because you can set up people. So the play action break is good, as well as the new catch animations. You have catches in stride. Like Sim said, read and react. It was about time to remove super linebackers and psychic DBs. So with the removal of those are steps in right direction for more strategic and simulation gameplay. And I think another negative is just consistency. Like Sim said, there are times you will see foot planting on defenders, because in the read and react system, you have to read the play and then react, which requires foot planting. But user control, if a player is user controlling a player, he does not have to foot plant. Also, another negative, offensive line, defensive line interactions. They have been tweaked, and we knew they weren't going to be overhauled, but we still like to see more of a fight in the trenches. And what it boils down to me is, if I get online, are people going to play like jerks and be successful? And you can still see that in this game. That's why I say it's not so much of a simulation yet. Now, I do understand that no game is perfect, and pretty much any game you play, whether it's Call of Duty, no matter what genre, Call of Duty, NBA, 2K, people are going to play these games and be jerks online.